Judge Sidney Aronovitz ordered Joe Nesline to appear before his court for a contempt hearing.
Well, Joe, he was born in 1913.
Nesline was given immunity yesterday for testimony in the federal grand jury investigation of Judge Alcee Hastings, but he would not answer any questions.
He grew up on the streets of D.C. at the time, but as a teenager, he got involved with bootleggers because by the time he was a teenager, Prohibition era was in full swing.
Nesline is no newcomer to courts. He's been arrested for murder, gambling, bribery, and income tax evasion. Had he changed his mind today?
Let you ask pointed questions.
He didn't change his mind. Judge Aronovitz ordered him jailed until he does.
So during that period, he was a teenager, like a lot of his friends, teenagers at the time, being a bootlegger, driving fast cars and stuff in D.C. and delivering alcohol from the stills of Maryland was pretty profitable for young men at the time. They were paid like $50 to $100 a trip. But he was running liquor for a certain gang. It was called the Foggy Bottom Gang, which was headed by the Waring brothers. And Nesline became very close to one of the brothers. His name was Emmett. That was the beginning of his criminal career.
The grand jury will reconvene Tuesday. In the meantime, the 68-year-old Nesline, who allegedly knows many underworld figures, will remain in federal custody.
So when Nesline got into the gambling business, one of the outfits he worked for was a gambling casino called the Jimmy's Place. It was the Maryland Athletic Club, but everybody called it Jimmy's Place. He was so good at gambling that he also went out to Steubenville, Ohio, and really honed his skills there at the cigar shops of Steubenville, which was Las Vegas before there was a Las Vegas. And there he hobnobbed with more old school gangsters, and including celebrities. So back and forth between Jimmy's Place and Steubenville, he got quite a reputation with the mobsters there. So after Prohibition, the Mafia needed a new revenue stream because of the loss of revenue from the illegal alcohol. So with that, they started taking over all the private, independent bookmaking operations wherever their territories were. So they took over Jimmy's Place. Now, Jimmy's Place was the biggest gambling casino between Saratoga, New York, and Miami, Florida. They had about 2,000 customers a day, and this was right on the D.C. line in Bladensburg, Maryland. But a Philadelphia mob came down and muscled in on Jimmy. That's how the mob started taking over in these independent bookmaking outfits. Nesline was part of Jimmy LaFontaine's operation. Meyer Lansky in particular, since Nesline had such a reputation with the people in Steubenville and in D.C. area and with Philadelphia, Nesline was placed in charge of all gambling operations in the Washington metropolitan area. Now, since Nesline was not of Italian descent himself, he needed an overseer himself. So Lansky put Charlie Tourine in charge of Nesline. So that's how that happened. So they had a very long and lucrative and profitable relationship from the 1940s on.
Joe, do you have anything to say after 8 months in jail for contempt of court?
No. I'll never tell.
Never tell?
No.